what a relationship means is different for every person. Okay, and then you all did understand the difference between friendship and relationship, right? Relationships where you're yoked with someone, it's more intimate. Okay, okay, good. So everyone has a different definition of what it means to be in a relationship. So let's look at Mimi. Mimi doesn't have a husband, she has children. And for Mimi, a relationship means taking care of someone's problems, nursing them through their illnesses, cleaning their house, cooking for them. To her, it means slavery. And ironically, what she wants the most is for her children to do the same for her, to take care of all her problems and pay her bills. And so here she was a slave her whole life, and now she wants her own slave. So if she was to name her relationship zone, she would call it slavery. Now, this is what all of you are going to do. In a few minutes, you are all going to name your relationship zone. So now let's look at DeAndre. So for DeAndre, a relationship means believing in each other's life goals, designing and building a beautiful home, doing couples therapy to learn more about each other. If DeAndre were to name his relationship zone, he would call it project management. It's on time, it has deliverables, and it's monitored to ensure success. Okay, so let's do this. Let's map out your relationship zone. And this can be a relationship with a romantic partner. It can also be your relationship with a troubled family member or someone that you're going to have to deal with during Thanksgiving. It can also be with a business partner, someone you're in business with or you want to be in business with. And try to have someone in mind when you do this. And it can also be God. You can map out your relationship with God or with Jesus. So have someone in mind right now. So think of someone that you're in a relationship with. You're going to map out your relationship zone with them right now. Okay, so you have your, does everyone have it in mind? Yes? Okay. So first thing you're going to do is you are going to define your relationship. What does a relationship mean to you? And remember, it can be a romantic relationship, it can be a business relationship, it can be a spiritual relationship with God. But what does that relationship mean to you? And you're going to write a bullet pointed list of what being in a relationship means to you. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you are going to name your relationship zone. So what's it called? Is it called co-creation, la la land, spontaneous volcanic eruptions, true love, swamp creature, magic mushrooms, Alice in Wonderland, daycare, or my favorite, the therapy room? What is your relationship called? Go ahead and name it. Look at your list, try to name it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Honesty, sharing, understanding, and etc.
Almost sounds like it's perfect love.
Mine is called Caretaker Central. Like I'm thinking of a train station where everybody's coming in.
All those relationships. Giving it a name was art of life.
Art of
And
life.
so it kind of covers ups and downs, the drama, the fact that I do write screenplays and create work. It's I see the art of life and all the drama that goes on and all the struggle, the epic struggles people have, the epic struggles that the world is having. And so it's in the closest relation, it's kind of mirrored, and then it's the art of life.
Calling it, I guess, my three favorite, love, light, and life zone.
Love, light, and life zone.
Yeah.
Mine is so relationship zone is more than genes or more than blood relation. Does it make sense?
Yeah,
So it's
more
not
than
family.
more
Yeah,
than
I meant that's my husband's mom. I call her mom, and then just more like a more than blood.
So it's a working name, like life raft zone. So this is with the older person who I've talked about before, the woman in particular. And so the features are emotionally intensive, practically helpful, well, trying to be, affirms deep values, and like a shared identity in that way, laughter and in-person time together.
Okay, so I'll tell you that what you have done in the past is a good indicator of what you will do in the future. If it's a relationship, not if it's a friendship. Because unlike friendships, relationships are heavily guarded. Relationships involve blood relations, sex, and money. So you know they're bloodbath, they're danger zones. So we tend not to touch them or go near them. Versus friendships, we're always improving our friendships because it's a safe zone. It's safe to make changes. In the friend zone, it's safe to bump it up a notch, really be there for someone. It's also safe to cancel, say, hey, I can't make it today. Friend zone, you can you have that range, right? But in relationships, it's not safe to change anything. So they tend to stay the same forever. What you do in romance tends to be what you do in business. And how your parents treated you tends to be how you treat others or how others treat you. And so when you decode one thing, like your relationship zone, you decode a lot of other areas of your life. The secret to your danger zone could also be the secret to your future success. So remember that. So here's Brad. Brad had a toxic marriage that ended in a quick, terrifying divorce. He named his relationship zone Nightmare. So when you get close to his relationship zone within about 150 yards of it, you can smell sulfur and something burning, and you already know that you probably shouldn't be there. So somebody don't want to be in a relationship. All relationships have a boundary that separates them from the friend zone. And once you cross that boundary, you're no longer a friend. You're what? You are yoked to that person, either in business, in money, in health, in romance, in family, in a cult, in a tight-knit community, a political movement or a cause, but you're yoked to the people in your relationship zone. And then there's that boundary that separates the friend zone from the relationship zone. So now let's look at these boundaries. Now at the front entrance of Brad's relationship zone are, hold on. At the front entrance of Brad's relationship zone are lava, fire, brimstone. There's a couple of demons. But if you get near this boundary, you'll get burned. Okay, so let's look at my boundaries. If you get near the entrance of my relationship zone, which is called Koala Bear Sanctuary, it smells like peaches and roses. You can hear birds chirping, squirrels playing, dandelions are blooming. But wait, there's a sign. And the sign says, Koala Bears need your care. Entrance fee, $60 million donation. Wow, it's very inviting, but who has $60 million to save koala bears? Which tells you why I'm single. Because I'm trying to raise $60 million to be in a relationship with myself so I can go save koala bears. So we all have boundaries. What's yours? So what is at the entrance of your relationship zone? And I invite you to draw a picture of it in your journal. What does it take for someone to cross your boundary and agree to be yoked with you? And go ahead and write it in your journal or draw it. Draw a picture of it in your journal. Draw the boundary between your friendship zone and your relationship zone. Okay, so Mary asked, what is a yoke? A yoke is a wooden harness that ties two oxen together. It's like being handcuffed to someone else by your neck. So your neck is handcuffed to another person. You're yoked together. That's what a yoke is. Okay, so let's troubleshoot. So if you have a situationship, a friends with benefits, or your grandkids only visit you 5 times a year, they're not here to stay, they just come to visit, that's not a relationship. That's a tourist visa. It's a staycation or a vacation, but it's not permanent. Your relationship zone is like a country. It's its own nation. And people have to get past the border in order to be awarded citizenship. Just like a nation, your relationship zone has its own set of rules and laws that all the citizens in that nation follow, which give them benefits. It keeps them accountable for bad behavior while they're in your relationship zone. So in the friend zone, you don't have any rules or laws. You don't have any responsibilities. You might, but they're all voluntary. None of them are obligatory. Therefore, the friend zone, it's very, very safe. I mean, there's very little risk. As a result, there's also less reward. You can take more risk in the friend zone and you can get more reward in the friend zone, but it's all voluntary. It's optional. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do in the friend zone. And therefore, the rate at which you progress or go backwards is completely up to you. There's no pressure. You can go as fast or as slow as you choose. You can change it up. You can go fast for 2 years. You can go slow for the next 30 years. You can do a dead stop. It's self-paced. So if it takes you 30 years to get your college degree, that's great in the friend zone. But now in the relationship zone, you have to get that college degree within 4 years or you don't graduate. So in the relationship zone, you have consequences because you're yoked with someone. Now, if you have a situationship, remember that's not a relationship. That's a tourist visa. Where visitors to your relationship zone, they only go to the tourist attractions and the best parts of your relationship zone. They don't get to see the ugly part of being in a relationship with you, the reality. They only get to see the pretty part of being in a relationship with you, the fantasy. So I want you to notice all the people in your relationship zone. Are they tourists or have they been granted citizenship? Now, even if you don't like the people who are citizens, for example, your children or your brother who you haven't talked to for 30 years, like it or not, they're still citizens. So you can boot out a tourist, but you cannot expel a citizen. So write down your journal, name who is a tourist and who has been granted citizenship in your relationship zone. Okay, your boundary that exists between your friend zone and your relationship zone represents the barriers to entry to be in a relationship with you. If you do not have a barrier to entry, anyone can be in a relationship with you. That's not a good thing. It's like the New World. When the Europeans came to America, they just started killing and plundering because there was no laws. So they made their own laws where the mean people slaughtered the nice people. And that's what's going to happen to you. You want some barrier to entry. I mean, look at Mimi. She had 0 barrier to entry. She became a slave. And now she wants her own slave. Okay, that's what happens. It's called the cycle of misery. Don't do that. Don't do that. Anybody in that situation? Oh, okay. Okay, so let's fix it right now. Everybody, look at your map of your relationship zone. And as an example, let's look at Brad's. Now notice Brad's barrier to entry to his relationship zone. Can't see it, it's dark, but there's a flesh-eating demon, there's an energy vampire back there on the stairs, there's a medieval torture device. Okay, so there's definitely an aesthetic, right? Kind of gothic, little emo. Okay, so now you look at your map, look at your relationship zone, the map you just drew. What would you add or take away as far as your barriers to entry? So for example, like Brad, okay, so I mean, he might want to add like a throne of swords, because some people don't like relationships that are torturous. They're going to stay away from Brad. But a lot of people like Game of Thrones, and it matches the decor of his relationship zone. And I'm also thinking, like, instead of he's got this burning pit of tar, I'm thinking maybe just like an open fire where people can roast marshmallows. I'm not sure. You do your relationship zone, what matches with you. But now that you have a chance to look at the map of your relationship zone, hopefully you can make some better choices. Okay, so let me give you another example. Let's look at mine. So remember mine, there was a peach orchard, there's bunny rabbits, and then boom, all of a sudden you're hit with the entry fee, $60 million donation. Okay, so a better idea for the entrance or the barrier of entry to my relationship zone would be like a koala bear learning center where you can pet koala bears for $12. It has a museum, an educational institute, a gift shop, a cafe. So you see what I mean? You get the idea. Right now in your journal, remodel your boundaries and your barriers to entry to your relationship zone. What do you want to add, take away, or change about how people get into that relationship with you? Okay, good. So why do we even have to remodel our boundaries? Because who can be a citizen in your relationship zone? Like, what does it take for someone to be in a relationship with you? For example, my relationship zone, the Koala Bear Sanctuary, only accepts philanthropists. So if you don't have a ton of money and a ton of heart, get out of there. Mimi only accepts slaves. And Brad only accepts those who are willing to spend 36,000 years proving that they are worthy. Only the strong survive, and even they die. So that's who he's going to be in a relationship with, right? So right now in your journal, write down who gets to be a citizen in your relationship zone. So for Catherine, it's anybody in the AME church, you know? Now, you might want to rethink that, but that's how it is, right? For Michelle, anybody on the caretaking train, right? So you want to think about who gets to be a citizen in your relationship zone. Okay, so this tells you, today's session tells you something about who you're sitting at the Thanksgiving dinner table with. You're going to look around that table and you'll automatically know who is willing to be a citizen in one of your relationship zones and who does not want to be anywhere near it. And then don't expect them to apply for citizenship. Keep them in the friend zone, which is very boring. Sometimes it's a waste of your time because there's no growth in the friend zone unless people are very motivated. Otherwise, it's not as rewarding as actually sitting around a Thanksgiving table with people you can relate to. But at least now you know why they don't want to be in one of your relationship zones and you don't want to be in their relationship zone. So you just drop all your expectations of them. They can drop their expectations of you, and you can have a thankful Friendsgiving in the friend zone. and make all your family your friends, not expect them to act like a family.